Good morning, good evening. My name is Joanna Chan, Investment Advisor with Invest Alberta Corporation. I'm also a member of the Chamber's Executive Committee. Welcome to the 8th Annual Transpacific Entrepreneurial Virtual Conference. This is session number 2, the Roadmap to Investment Opportunities and Strategies to Success in Alberta. The format of this session will be conversational, and if you'd like to submit any questions or comments, please feel free to do so in the chat box below. We'll do our best to answer your questions now or after the conference. Having lived and worked in Alberta for more than 13 years before returning to Hong Kong in 2017, I am very delighted to be able to showcase the province today. Joining me is Mr. Kevin Tsui, Managing Director for Greater China with Invest Alberta Corporation, IAC. Based consecutively out of Beijing since 2003, Kevin now oversees IAC's operations and investment attraction activities in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Hong Kong. Now, Kevin, as we all know, Hong Kong has very strong ties with Canada, but most people are familiar with Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal. To kickstart our conversation today, could you tell us a little bit about Alberta and why it is an attractive place for potential investors?
Thanks, Joanna, for the introduction and setting the stage for our brief session on investment opportunities in Alberta. It's a real pleasure to be here today, and thank you to CanCham Hong Kong and their co-host, the Hong Kong Canada Business Association, for their efforts in staying the course during these challenging times in Hong Kong and hosting this virtual Transpac conference. Now, when we think of Alberta, many images and impressions come to mind, as Alberta has developed a few calling cards over its history as a significant agricultural commodity producer, including Canadian Alberta beef, and with that, of course, cowboys nestled in the foothills and regions of the Rocky Mountains. Other calling cards also include the immense hydrocarbon, oil and gas, and petrochemical industries, as Alberta is home to the 3rd largest oil reserves in the world, and in the face of climate change challenges, now undergoing a once-in-a-lifetime low-carbon energy transition effort. Beyond those initial impressions, I hope today, with your help, to create a few more new impressions on why we feel Alberta is a place where we believe people can realize their ambitions. Alberta has it all, really. From some of the world's most livable cities, a diverse entrepreneurial and talented community, and some of the most business-friendly policies in North America, and of course, our access to the great outdoors. I'd argue that Alberta is one of the best places to live, work, and invest in Canada. Let me share with you some highlights as I see it and what I'll coin as the Alberta advantage. Our economy is strong and on track to deliver impressive growth given the multi-dimensional contributions from Alberta's efforts to diversify and innovate its economy, which is projected to land the economy in a much healthier position despite current global headwinds such as the ongoing pandemic, mounting inflations, supply chain disruptions, and climate change. We have a clear tax advantage as the only province in Canada without a provincial sales tax and only a federal goods and services tax, GST, of 5%. Alberta's corporate tax rate is also the lowest in Canada at only 8%. These competitive rates offer a structural long-term advantage for businesses and investors looking for a place to settle and grow. On the labor front, the working population in Alberta is growing at a very fast pace, and our workforce is also the youngest in Canada, with the highest proportion of those under age 45. And with that, a steady stream of STEM graduates coming online every year. Alberta is also known as the engineering capital in Canada, with the most engineers per capita. Finally, let's not forget the lifestyle and access to the natural amenities, which truly offers a work-life balance by being in Alberta. Within a short drive away from the major urban centers is the pristine nature and beauty of the Rocky Mountains playground, where families can enjoy and pursue their outdoor passions and interests. Also, let me add that on a comparative basis, housing and buying a home in Alberta is simply more affordable, offering young professionals more options to settle and raise their families.
Thanks, Kevin. This is very true. Since the start of the pandemic, a lot of friends, whether they're in Canada or in Hong Kong, have been asking me about Alberta. They're really hoping to transition, moving to Alberta with the great outdoors and whatnot. So thanks for sharing some unique features about our province and highlighting, of course, the Alberta advantage. You mentioned that the province traditionally had been focused on agriculture, energy, and petrochem. Can you elaborate on these above sectors as well as some emerging and very exciting sectors?
Yes, absolutely. As I've mentioned a moment ago, Alberta continues to leverage upon its world-class strength as one of the world's largest energy and agricultural producers. And with continued investments in these core areas, Alberta has also diversified into emerging sectors like technology, financial services, tourism, aviation, and logistics. Let me quickly and briefly comment on each of these areas where we see the greatest opportunities. In energy and clean tech, Alberta's leadership in energy production is quickly also making it one of the world's leading investment destinations for renewable, carbon capture, and hydrogen. Hydrogen investments and production is estimated to be a once-in-a-lifetime $100 billion opportunity for Alberta as we decarbonize and commit ourselves to achieving sustainable net zero emissions. For agriculture, Alberta is expanding its agricultural sector through innovation, technology, and the development of new bio-based products, which is opening up all kinds of opportunities for new plant-based products, food processing capabilities, and sustainable foods. And this complements Alberta's existing leadership as a leading producer of canola, wheat, dry peas, barley, and cattle. In petrochemical, Alberta is home to Canada's largest refining and petrochemical manufacturing cluster and produces 70% of the country's natural gas, with immense gas supply reserves for the next 200 years at current production levels. Our petrochemical sector are major producers of methane, ethane, ethylene, propane, and all their valuable derivative products. The availability of abundantly available low-cost natural gas enables Alberta to be a global leading low-carbon hydrogen and methanol producer. Now, of particular note and relevance to our session today is the technology and innovation area. Our diversified and deep pool of technology companies are making strides as our innovators and entrepreneurs develop technologies to address the global challenges of energy security, food quality, and other opportunities resulting from cutting-edge innovation like artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, in terms of financial services, Alberta's low cost of doing business and concentration of capital-intensive industries has created a strong demand for a robust, innovative financial services sector in Alberta. For tourism, the opportunity is strong, as Alberta is home to so many iconic offerings, from the Canadian Rockies to one of the world's best dinosaur museums, to signature events like the Calgary Stampede and Edmonton International Fringe Festival. Lots of opportunities to expand destination development efforts and developing compelling experiences. Last and certainly not least is aviation and logistics, and getting all our goods, commodities, and services moving. With two of the largest airports in Canada and integrated rail service by both CN and CP, which is headquartered in Alberta, and an impressive intermodal infrastructure supported by a thriving trucking industry, Alberta is well connected to deliver efficient access to consumer markets with supply chain, distribution, and warehousing opportunities like those offered by Port Alberta, which I will speak to later.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. So we all know that technology and innovation have been playing a crucial role in every single sector we can think of these days. Investors that I speak with these days are often quite surprised pleasantly about Alberta's impressive and developing tech and innovation sector. Can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Certainly. Alberta's tech ecosystem is truly impressive, with over 3,000 startups, scale-ups, and established technology and innovation companies. Our tech ecosystem is so strong, we welcome all kinds of startups in all domains of technology, whether it's IoT or deep technology or telecom-related, blockchain or video gaming. You can find multiple partner ecosystem platforms, funding solutions, networks, and collaborative initiatives to assist your growth and truly make your ambitions a reality in Alberta. In terms of investments in our tech ecosystem, and according to the Canadian Venture Capital Private Equity Association, 2021 was a record-breaking year for investments in Alberta, where over $490 million was transacted in private equity deals, and over $560 million was transacted in venture capital investments. thus making Alberta the second most active place for PE and VC firms in Canada. Now, with global PE and VCs investing in Alberta's tech and innovation sector, there have been impressive opportunities to fund and get in on the ground level within Alberta's growing tech ecosystem. And over the last few years, the global community of PE and VC firms are taking notice of Alberta's tech capacity for producing unicorns, while also nurturing soon-to-be unicorns or soonicorns. And all of this was during the toughest conditions imposed by the global pandemic. Now, let me mention a few interesting areas worth noting about Alberta's tech and innovation sector. First, in fintech, we have seen billion-dollar unicorn valuations from Albertan companies across various industries and applications, including Benevity, which is a charitable donation management and grant management platform. There's also Solium Capital, or now ShareWorks by Morgan Stanley, which offers equity compensation solutions for employees to boost productivity and buy-in. And then there's Jobber, which is an online management platform helping sole traders and small home services businesses make appointments and organize their schedule, set up billing and manage their accounts, and market their services online. Second is video gaming and immersive technologies. And you might now be asking yourself, wait a minute, Alberta has a video gaming industry? Well, the answer is yes, we sure do. And Alberta is home to some of the leading AAA studios like BioWare and Beamdog, as well as other AA studios, including digital media studios and firms throughout the Edmonton and Calgary regions. The world is also noticing too, as Tencent Holdings, the biggest game development company, just recently invested in Inflection Games, based in Edmonton, as it was finalizing its first gaming release called Nightingale, which will now be added to Tencent's global gaming brand, Level Infinite. Now, the third area in tech and innovation where Alberta is truly impressive is in artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning, ML, and quantum computing, where major leaps have been made with the establishment of AMI, Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute at the University of Alberta. AMI is among the world's top 5 machine learning research centers, with world-renowned researchers working on different subfields of AI and ML. When Google's DeepMind, one of the world's leading AI research companies, recently opened its first satellite research lab at the University of Alberta, it was a further signal suggesting Alberta is at the forefront of pushing the boundaries of AI, conducting R&D and developing programs that will enable machines to solve the complex problems of tomorrow. Also on this front, the University of Calgary's Institute of Quantum Science and Technology, in partnership with the government of Alberta, is also working hard to designate Calgary as an innovation hub with support from various global organizations. And most recently, it was announced that Emphasis, a leading Indian technology firm specializing in cloud and cognitive services, would launch a Quantum City initiative to build solutions for the commercial application of quantum computing for artificial intelligence and machine learning. As a final thought, on areas worth noting about Alberta's tech and innovation is the availability of our talent. There are over 9,000 STEM graduates arriving on the market annually from Alberta's 26 post-secondary institutions. Overall, the talent pool in Alberta is deep, with over 170,000 tech workers, with Calgary having the highest concentration of high-tech workers in Canada. And with low operating costs, accessible office spaces, and sector-specific talent, it is no wonder Alberta has over 3,000 tech companies, startups, and scale-ups. And of all these, I should also point out that 30% of these tech startups are female founders, which represent more than twice the national average. Now that's what I consider a great new calling card for Alberta. So I hope I've given everyone here a brief snapshot on why we at Investment Alberta feel the tech and innovation space is so exciting and full of opportunities and potential. But just in case, for those in doubt about our tech and innovation capacity, I'll share one last major development. AWS, Amazon Web Services, recently decided to establish their cloud computing operation in the Calgary region of Alberta, committing $4.3 billion. This is what I'll suggest is a drop the microphone moment, because there's nothing more to say after such an announcement. When a tech giant like Amazon chooses Calgary, it really suggests and confirms what we've known for some time now, that Alberta has the right ecosystems and conditions for even global tech giants to land and play in Alberta. Now, finally, in looking over our success stories, I also mentioned that all of these technology announcements are also driving opportunities for back office and internal financial services, given Alberta's low operating costs, accessible office spaces, and a globally connected financial services sector due to our capital-intensive industries. These elements have recently paved the way for EY, choosing Alberta as its next home for its Canadian Finance Center of Excellence.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kevin. As we know, ESG plays a very important factor in making an investment decision. This is ever truer since the start of the pandemic. Alberta has been a leader since before COVID-19 in driving impact and create positive change towards an inclusive, sustainable, and low carbon global economy. Can you touch on this a little?
Joanna, I'm glad you've raised this very important issue. Indeed, responsible and sustainable development is crucial to global environmental stewardship, and Alberta is definitely making a big difference on this front. On environment and sustainability, Alberta is actually the first jurisdiction in North America to put a price on carbon. Alberta's energy sector accounts for 75% of Canada's overall clean tech investments, which includes significant investments in solar and wind energy, carbon capture, and sequestration, CCUS. Last year, Government of Alberta released the Alberta Hydrogen Roadmap, which sets out the province's ambitious goals for enabling a hydrogen economy while reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Part of the roadmap is ramping up research and development in the hydrogen sector through the creation of the Clean Hydrogen Center of Excellence, where we expect to hear many more exciting applications and developments. And just before I forget, I thought to direct the audience's attention to please take note and join tomorrow's session number 9, the roadmap to a green future and sustainable opportunities at 9:30 a.m., which will feature our resident expert on Alberta's hydrogen economy, Mr. Brent Lakeman, who is Director of Hydrogen Initiatives from Edmonton Global. Brent will share more details about all things hydrogen in Alberta, including hydrogen end use opportunities. In terms of actual projects demonstrating Alberta's global leadership in sustainability and decarbonization efforts, there are 3 that need to be highlighted. Shell Canada's Quest carbon capture facility just outside of the Edmonton area captures 5 million tons of CO2 per year, which is equivalent to the emissions from over 1.25 million cars a year. In 2020, the Alberta Carbon Trunk Line commenced operations as one of the world's largest carbon capture utilization and storage systems, with a capacity to transport up to 14.6 million tons of carbon dioxide per year, accessible to a diverse range of stakeholders along the pipeline. Another major project currently in the works is the Alberta Carbon Grid, which will be a world-scale CO2 infrastructure backbone connecting the Fort McMurray region of the oil sands to central Alberta. Alberta's lead agency for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, called Emission Reductions Alberta, has to date funded 220 projects and technologies worth nearly $800 million, which has resulted in greenhouse gas reductions of 42.3 million tons of CO2. So what you're seeing in Alberta are actual meaningful investments into programs, carbon capture project, infrastructure, and engineering know-how. Alberta is working hard to innovate and create positive changes to a sustainable, low-carbon global economy. From a social-related impact and community engagement perspective, I should point out that Alberta is home to over 400 Indigenous-owned enterprises, generating more than $3.3 billion in revenues, of which many are implicated in the energy and clean tech areas. The Alberta Indigenous Opportunities Corporation, AIOC, provides up to $1 billion in loan guarantees to help support Indigenous-led investments to develop sustainable trading businesses and opportunities. We will be glad to offer further insight on how members of the audience can engage with the Indigenous communities and opportunities in Alberta and through the various organizations like the AIOC.
Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. This is a perfect segue as to what we, Invest Alberta, can do for potential investors. So
Yes.
could you touch on that, please?
Certainly. Let me offer a brief overview here. Invest Alberta is a provincial crown corporation established in 2020, intended to act at arm's length from government so that we can operate at the speed of business, but also close enough to government to help investors get the answers, connections, and customized services they need to break down red tape and regulatory barriers. Our mandate is to attract high impact, high value investments to the province of Alberta. We do this through our team of investment advisors across the world, and in particular in Greater China, where we have 4 offices located in Hong Kong, Guangzhou, Shanghai, and Beijing. We have a team of investment advisors working to attract corporate and institutional investment interests to grow Alberta's investment attraction funnel while assisting these opportunities to move their investment interests forward. On the map, the gold dots show our existing international network of offices, and the red dots represent all our new offices and partnerships across the world, which we are in the process of operating and opening soon over the coming weeks and months. As you can see, most of our existing offices are located in Asia, with offices also in Tokyo, Seoul, Taipei, and New Delhi. We are planning on opening offices in Singapore, the UAE, Germany, and across North America, in the US, and across Canada. When fully realized, Invest Alberta's network of international offices will be an impressive global presence indeed. Now, basically, we assist the investor journey and process through a few key phases, including the initial strategic assessment phase, then followed by the location screening and benchmarking, complemented by the cost comparison business case evaluation phase, and onwards to the sought after final investment decision announcements, followed by the implementation phase. Invest Alberta works with a dedicated team of sector specialists and investor services professionals to provide the support services investors need to help them get to a yes for Alberta.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kevin. So last question for me. In your opinion, what do you think makes Alberta such a unique province in Canada?
Well, I think to answer this question well, we need to add some historical context, as Alberta has experienced some of its toughest economic challenges in the last few years, which was further exacerbated by the global pandemic recently. During these tough years, hard decisions were made in Alberta to cut costs and further reduce red tape and diversify. Meaningful steps by industry and government were taken to invest in ways to further increase both its competitiveness and its environmental performance to further stimulate capital spending. And of course, a lot of efforts were made to diversify Alberta's traditional economy into areas not subject to commodity price fluctuations, such as innovation and technology. Although Alberta has experienced some tough economic challenges in the last few years, it has also demonstrated its capacity to show resilience and getting things done. There is a can-do spirit and grit, which is very apparent in Alberta, where everyone just rolls up their sleeves and takes a whole of industry, government, and all stakeholders approach to realize their mutual ambitions. In fact, Invest Alberta was created during these difficult times to make a difference and put meaningful focus into the province's investment attraction efforts. I actually really appreciate Invest Alberta's new marketing campaign a lot because it really encapsulates all of this quite succinctly as Alberta can. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear and watch a video now where we interview one of the many global executives that have chosen Alberta to invest and locate recently. mCloud is a great example of the opportunities available in Alberta for companies looking to establish and grow while they offer cutting-edge data and AI solutions to address the challenges of managing energy assets effectively.
mCloud is an AI company, leverages the cloud, connects to energy-intensive assets, and makes those more efficient. By definition, lowers their carbon intensity, their carbon footprint. Everything we provide AI to is available in Alberta, and there's lots of it. We got wind energy assets, we got large buildings here. Being in Alberta, you have the footprint of Texas, but with mid-sized companies you can work closely with and collaborate. I've never seen the private sector and government actually work well, period. Here it does. Something like ESG can be done here in Alberta with all the right people in the room, and they all work together. It was going to be a Georgia headquartered company, and then I met Invest Alberta. And everything changed after that. Everybody did what they said they were going to do in a very short period of time. It sounds simple, but as a person who's done business around the world, it doesn't happen very often. There is an Alberta spirit. I've yet to hear anyone say we can't do something. Those words don't exist here. I'm talking about doing innovative things, pushing the edge, and the ambition to do more. It's actually like the Silicon Valley. You can build anything if you have talent. Capital is a commodity. You need talent. Without talent, there is no technology. It's all we have. And there's a lot of it in this province. The people that are educated here are very smart and are ready to get right to it. They're ready for real world problems. In Alberta, you can explain the problem we're trying to solve and people understand it immediately. From Singapore to Vietnam, Texas, I've been to all of them. Alberta is in the best position on earth. Alberta gets it.
Excellent. So now on to the Q&A session. In the interest of time, unfortunately, we only have time for one question. So I'm just going to have to pick one here. From the audience here, Kevin, someone is wondering, what is in the pipeline for Alberta in terms of exciting projects?
Okay. Well, Invest Alberta's growing pipeline of opportunities is keeping us all very busy, and there seems to be no shortage of interest from all over the world, and especially from where we sit in Asia. As shown on the previous success story slide, you will have noticed a good balance between different sectors, from financial services to fintech and cloud computing, and of course, hydrogen, with a reference to Air Products' recent $1.3 billion announcement and plans to build the world's largest hydrogen production facility in Edmonton. Now, related to this is the upcoming Canadian Hydrogen Convention, which will have its inaugural launch in a few weeks' time on April 26 in Edmonton. This convention will be held annually for the next decade in Alberta and will bring the entire Canadian supply chain together to discuss innovations and solutions for low-carbon hydrogen production, energy infrastructure, storage, and the path forward as Canada works towards net zero by 2050. Other projects in the pipeline in other domains include agri-food and agribusiness opportunities related to addressing food security and climate change risk through vertical farming and precision farming solutions. Finally, as I had mentioned earlier about the concept of Port Alberta, let me also share a few highlights here. Port Alberta is the regional inland port in the Edmonton area where air, rail, pipelines, roadways converge with favorable regulations and incentives to create a regional manufacturing, cargo, and logistics hub. Port Alberta is positioned to support both inbound and outbound cargo with the specific advantage of a foreign trade zone, FTZ designation. Port Alberta offers so much potential for cargo and freight carriers, e-commerce companies, and distributors to establish and benefit from duty relief and tax relief. So for international investors, the opportunity is to bring unfinished goods and manufactured products into the region, complete some value-added manufacturing while converting these goods and manufactured products into made in Canada products. And then from there, an investor could well leverage Canada's 14 international trade agreements with 51 different countries, opening access to multiple markets around the world. So in other words, our pipeline of opportunities just continues to grow at Invest Alberta. And we will do our best to service all opportunities to deliver on our mission to attract high impact, high value investments to Alberta. We really want to work with all interested parties and stakeholders. So this is an open invitation to please feel free to reach out to us and let's engage in conversation and explore how we could assist you to land in Alberta.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And this concludes our session today. Thank you to our attendees for participating. We really appreciate your time. If you'd like to connect with myself or Kevin, the QR codes for our WhatsApp and WeChat accounts are here posted on the screen. I'd also like to encourage you to follow us at Invest Alberta on our LinkedIn page. We will be joining our networking sessions later today, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the conference.